August 17th, 2021 meeting of Lawrence County Board of Commissioners. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mrs. Lamb, would you be so kind as to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Noel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. We have quorum. You did good, by the way, with the reaction time. Some people, they fumble it their first time around.
No, we'd be putting you to work today.
That's okay. That's all right.
I will note that we are being live streamed. It's being broadcast to our YouTube channel for public consumption. Anyone who is viewing via the YouTube channel, whether they cannot make it here in person or whether they are still a little bit fearful of COVID-19, the Delta variant, they're welcome to submit public comments to us at mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. That's mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. Please signal in the subject line that it's public comment, and we will enter it into the record as such. Row officer reports and comments. Looking around, I'm not seeing any representatives of row officers with us today. Public comments. Do we have any member of the public here who wishes to make comment?
We can still make one at the end.
Absolutely. We're in good shape. Fiscal and contractual. We have no advertising, no receipt of bids or proposals, no fiscal reports, no report on quotes. We do have 2 warrant registers dated August 10th and August 13th, 2021. I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and take a motion to accept and file the warrant register.
So moved.
Please bear with me just a second.
Sure, take time.
I will second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Up next, we have approval of Tuesday, August 10th, 2021 meeting minutes. Again, I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and take a motion to approve the minutes or make any necessary expedient changes.
So moved.
Second.
Good motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have one presentation of written communications today. It's a municipal notification of a planned land development for Chapter 102 permits for Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania. This is a development located in Slippery Rock Township. As it reads, the project is proposing to install a plastic pipeline via open cut and directional bore primarily through existing utility right-of-way in meadow condition. And along existing roads. E&S controls will include compost filter sock water bars, trench plugs, and erosion control blanket. And the location is unnamed tributary to Slippery Rock Creek and then Slippery Rock Creek and Brush Run. Again, this is taking place in Slippery Rock Township. As I always note with these, when certain entities apply for different permits in Pennsylvania, they are required to notify the Board of Commissioners of their permit application. Board of Commissioners has no approval authority over such permits, which is required under state law to be notified. But unless there's any comments, I will take a motion to accept and file correspondence.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff reports. Do we have any member of staff here with us today who has anything to report above and beyond what's already on the agenda? Nothing new at MHDS?
Yeah.
All right. Saw you guys at the fair yesterday. Good job. It was fun to play around with the dogs a little bit. But nice booth. I'll move on to commissioner reports and comments. First on deck today is Loretta. You have the floor.
Well, nothing prepared, but off the top of my head, since the county has been moved to the high level of transmission for the for COVID. And, you know, I'm not getting into any type of a vaccination debate or not, but let's at least get back to even the basics, you know, with hygiene, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, things like that. And see what we can do to all try to stop the spread. We need to do what we need to do. That's it. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Dan, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody.
Right.
Two things. Mr. Boyd, Chairman Boyd referenced the fair, which opened yesterday. And I had the pleasure of attending the opening ceremonies along with Mr. Versilla from the Elwood Ledger. Felt bad because the skies opened up just as they were cutting the ribbon and raising the flag. I felt bad for some of the folks that were there for that. I did have the pleasure of running into a former commissioner, Ed Fosnot, and his family were there. And at least 2, maybe 3 of his grandchildren. But Ed looks well. And it was nice to see Ed, nice to chat with him. The second and final note I'll make, it's a PennDOT matter, and of course PennDOT's a state agency, but we don't have jurisdiction over PennDOT. But I want to remind everybody that if you're hoping to enter Interstate 376 from Mitchell Road in Neshannock Township, if you're heading towards Sharon, you're okay. You can get onto 376, but if you're wanting to head east, even though it feels like you're really going south, but if you want to head east, you can't. They're repairing the bridge. The same is true if you're coming from, let's say, Union Township from Walmart, perhaps, and you're heading west on 376. You are able to exit to Mitchell Road. However, if you're coming from Sharon or West Middlesex, you cannot exit to get onto Mitchell Road. So I just want to, a lot of people use that artery, and just wanted to remind everybody of the closure as they do the bridge repair. Apparently an overhyped truck a number of months ago hit the bridge and caused some structural damage to it. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll just pass for today. If you have any updates on the Union Township project or something else, we'll give them next week. Moving on to new business. We have Director Baldwin with NHDS here. Resolution for special and possible approval to enter into a contract with Human Services Center. Scott, if you'd be able to approach the bench. And Vanessa, what resolution number will this be?
197.
197, thank you. Scott, how you doing today?
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Floor is yours. What do we have going on?
Okay. So this is a renewal contract between HDS and the Human Services Center. This contract will run from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Contract is not to exceed $3,709,528 and is paid via block grant funding. And it's a large amount of the center.
I was gonna say, it better not go over 3 million.
The center historically has been our community
Yes.
mental health center. They provide really the vast majority of our mental health services. This is including our residential programs, case management, crisis intervention, outpatient services for both mental health and intellectually disabled consumers. So just a couple of notes though, we do have 2 new programs. One, I guess in the spirit of the fair, is a new farming initiative that's really stemmed from a roundtable that Senator Elder Vogler had a couple years ago.
Vogel.
Thank you, sorry.
I always tell people, forgive me, people get our names mixed up all the time because they're very similar. He's Vogel, I'm Vogler, but I always tell people, fortunately for him, we're not related. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. We had a roundtable a couple of years ago, bringing awareness to mental health in the farming community. So with Human Services Center, it's a new service that we started. It'll be more geared towards that culture there. And then our Comfort Canines, the Human Services, our animal assisted therapy program, which is at the fair this year. So if you're at our table, stuff I will have our dogs do. But that's it for Human Services. If you have any questions.
Questions, comments?
No question.
No.
All right, what do we have going on for rehab links, and we'll make this 198.
This was our early intervention coordinator identified a need to bring in another provider for our birth to 3-year-old. So this is a new contract between MHDS and Rehab Links. The contract will run from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. There are no dollar amounts attached to this provider. There's entitlement programs where there's a no reject policy. This was brought in as an additional need to do these birth assessments for evaluations for kids that may have potential disabilities. So, I know I just did all those weeks ago, but this was a new one that we were doing. So.
In terms of the funding for that, correct me if I'm wrong, with early intervention specifically, like you said, it's a no reject policy. In other words, anybody that comes into the system, we're under state law mandated to take a look at. My understanding how this funding works for that is they give us a base amount of dollars, and then if we exceed that amount, they make us whole at the end of the year. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah, and it's based on need. We just don't know how many we have. So you're absolutely correct.
Gotcha. Just wanted to clarify that for anybody wondering how the money works on that one. All right, questions, additional questions, comments?
I do have a quick one. Where are they headquartered?
Donegal, Pennsylvania.
Westmoreland County, most likely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We have to reach out for some of those. So.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Scott, thank you very much. I don't think you'll have any issue with any of those passing. You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the show, or if you have to take off somewhere else, we understand.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Up next, great program, Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture will make this 1099. This is the TEFAP program. What it is effectively the Department of Agriculture, through appropriation by the state legislature, is awarded a sizable amount of dollars to help alleviate food insecurity in counties all across the Commonwealth. So every county every year receives an allocation of dollars specifically for food programs. This resolution authorizes the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank to act as the county's lead agency for the acronym stands distribution of temporary emergency assistance food program from October 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2026. They've historically administered the program for us. They've done a good job. But through this program, different food banks in Lawrence County are able to go to the Greater Pittsburgh Area Food Bank to get supplies. It basically acts as a centralized hub for some of our local suppliers here. But they've done a good job. Last year, I don't have the award amount in front of me right now for future years, but I know this past fiscal, our award amount was just under $150,000. So they do a fine job. And actually, they helped out a lot with specifically related to COVID. I know a large number of community organizations tapped into that program to make sure that the residents all across the county did not have to go without food, even though they might have been laid off. Questions, comments on that program?
No.
Real quick, I concur. They do wonderful work. Amy might remember, because you've come to a lot of our commissioner meetings, but I seem to recall, not often, but maybe 2 or 3 times since I've been here, folks from the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank would come up and make a presentation to us. And it was always, do you recall that? Do you recall that happening at least once or twice? I'm thinking maybe next year we might invite them just to come in and tell us a little more about what they do. It's very informative.
Absolutely.
You covered it well, but it's nice having them come up and give us a lot of details. So maybe something to think about next year.
Well, they're able to dig into the data much more than I'd be. You know, X amount of distributions made, all the different agencies they're supplying. No, they do a fine job.
They do.
Yeah, next year I'll give someone a call and have them come down.
Thank you.
199. Up next, this is a great amendment. Budget amendment resolution. We received a hell of a lot more in grant funding than we anticipated from the FAIR account. The FAIR, not being Lawrence County Fair, as been talked about earlier, but it being
With a PH.
PHARE. And what this funding is for, we actually received dollars both to Lawrence County proper, Lawrence County as an entity, as well as Lawrence County Redevelopment Authority. FAIR funding goes to housing rehab and demolition programming in the county. The bulkhead of this, what we're able to use for demolition, is going to be used to tear down remaining repository structures. Right now, I believe out to contrary, or 38 structures left, down from 39 a couple of weeks ago. We have active bids out on 6 of those, so there's 32 structures left. And this funding is largely going to go towards completing those demolitions and getting those issues remediated. But yeah, we received a lot more than we're anticipating, and we're certainly going to take it. And just glad of the work that Amy and our planning office does in administering the Lawrence County Blight Reduction Program. Questions, comments?
Can you take comments from the floor? Or?
If you have a question, we'll take it now.
Is that mostly residential properties?
It's historically, and Dan might be able to provide better insight into this just because we've been sort of sidetracked in COVID. But historically, it's largely been residential properties. But the process for which these funds are utilized is if it's in the repository itself, generally we don't require any additional approvals to get it demoed and deploy those dollars that way. If it's in a municipality, and the municipality has identified it as needing to be torn down, the municipality, whether that be Shenango, Mahoning, Elwood, et cetera, submits to our planning office, our redevelopment office, basically requests for demolition. Those requests are compiled, they're brought before the County Redevelopment Authority, and the Redevelopment Authority selects projects to take out to bid and demo.
And is that you have more than enough money to do that, or is that not enough to do the money that you're talking about? You talked it was more than expected. Is that going to be more than you need?
Well, for our repository properties, with the exception of Lincoln Garfield School in the city of Newcastle, which the city is handling, I believe that this amount plus the redevelopment authority itself got $250,000, which is a total $650,000. Some of that has to be used for housing rehab as opposed to demolition, but it should be roughly enough to tear down existing repository structures, all of them, in Lawrence County, with the exception of Lincoln Garfield, based on our current estimates. And then next year, we will have more submissions from municipalities if we get more funding. And continue to help our municipalities out that way, as well as any additional properties that might be brought into the repository.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Amy McKinney, our planning director, corresponds with all 27 boroughs and townships and the city of Newcastle, advising them that these funds are available. And a good number of the municipalities have responded to her. And if you'd ever want all the real details, we've kind of given you the overview, but Amy's office is just right around the corner. Be very welcome to meet with her, talk with her. She'd be happy to show you all the specifics.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? All right, make that 200. IT, we are doing a budget amendment from Central Services Miscellaneous Admin, $100,000 to IT maintenance and repair. Reason for this is I think this is the generator that we purchased, backfilling dollars for that generator to make sure that in the event the power goes down again, our IT systems remain online operational. We don't run into any hiccups.
Speaking of that, and I think it happened early last week, maybe about 7:15. We had a very, very brief power outage.
Okay.
And just 2 seconds.
Right.
But it was long enough to turn everybody's computer off, and then it affected the cooling system. Frank's folks had to scramble to get the cooling system back up. But wanted to let you know. I'd forgotten to tell you that.
Okay.
We did have a brief power outage.
Having more and more of those recently. I'll make that 201. Question, comments? And finally, our admin transfer for the day. We are moving from hospital post-mortem expense $5,000 in the coroner's per diem account. Coroner's been doing a great job saving on hospital and post-mortem throughout the year, and so there's a very sizable amount of funds in that account that we're able to utilize as necessary. We're able to transfer to different accounts. He's asking to transfer $5,000 of that into his per diems. Questions, comments on that? I'll take a motion to approve administrative transfer A.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion second. Any further discussion here? None. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll take a motion to amend the agenda to allow for voting on resolutions 2021-197 through 2021-201.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2021-197, now be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the agreement listed in item 2 shall be approved starting July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Authorization is hereby given to execute the following addendum. Human Services Center, Inc. is detailed in the attachment designated as 2021-2022. Program description rates are also listed in the attachment. Be it further resolved, this payment is being made from the NHDH fund, NHDS fund. Any questions, comments on that? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-198, through resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the agreement listed in item 2 shall be approved for the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Authorizations hereby given to execute the following contracts. Rehab link space is detailed on the attachment. Program rates and descriptions also listed within the attachment. Be it further resolved that payments be made out of the MHDS fund. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-199, now that resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, authorization is given to extend the agreement of understanding with Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank to act as the county's lead agency for distribution of temporary assistance food program TFAP from October 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2026. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-200, now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners to amend the 2021 Lawrence County budget as follows: increasing the fair grant revenue account by $400,000 and increasing the fair grant expense account by $400,000. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No ordinance on the table for introduction or for final. Oh, wait, this is the IT. This is the IT. Every once in a while, we slip up. That's one of the reasons I'm glad I have two colleagues who are smarter than I am. Resolution 2021-201, now be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that authorization is hereby given to the appropriate administrative officials transfer total $10,000 described in the attachment D designated as T-2021-11. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question that's a procedural, legal, technical question that we may want to consult with our solicitor about, or perhaps the three of you are way ahead of me on this. The legislature, as you know, amended the Sunshine Law and implemented a number of new provisions that I think take effect by sometime by the end of the month in terms of posting of the agenda in advance of the meeting, et cetera, et cetera. One of the items I saw, and I probably should have focused more on it than I did, but as you know, we've been following a process where we have resolutions introduced, we discuss them,
Right.
we get input from department heads when appropriate, and then in most instances, we then, as noted, we amend the agenda to then vote on.
Yes.
Once in a while, we'll hold them over a
Right.
week if there's a question, if there's something that we need more information on. And again, maybe one of the three of you can answer this. I'm wondering if that process whereby we take a formal action to amend the agenda to consider these proposed resolutions, if this new law affects that in any way. Do any of the three of you know the answer to that? Because I don't.
I don't know. I would state maybe a assumption that we're either A, going to have to formally put something on the agenda stating that, a motion will be made to amend the agenda to allow for voting on those items, or alternatively, as opposed to even making that motion, treat each individual resolution as a vote, and worst case scenario, we can table it if necessary to a future
I see
meeting.
what you're saying. In other words, when for example, when the first one came up, when Scott's first one
Yes.
came up, upon conclusion of his report to us,
Vote.
then we take a vote.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like if we could just maybe, any one of us, whoever sees Attorney Medora
Yes.
first, if we could just ask him to clarify, you're probably right, but if we could ask him to clarify that, because obviously I don't want to violate the law, because I don't want to go to jail.
This is true.
Okay, fine, that'd be a quick walk over.
Yes.
Yeah. Did look good in orange.
Three square meals a day and a
And
shower.
I think that, that was brought up, I don't remember which, municipality it was, but their solicitor brought it up that in the future, amending the agenda, you are not going to be able to amend the agenda once this law takes effect. I don't know if they were voting on resolutions or not, but as soon as you said, I have a question on the new law, a little buzzer went off, not a loud one, but a little one. I remembered him saying that was not, but whatever they were doing with the amending the agenda to approve something
Right.
was not going to be able to be done. Now, what the solution was, I don't know if they got into it as far as
Okay.
that went, but yeah, good question.
And I'm
Good
wondering,
question.
though,
To do
maybe,
it.
yeah, take
Mhm.
each one as it comes.
As it
That
comes
way-
up.
We table it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, but if one of us could, whoever sees Mr. McCoy
Right.
first, if we could ask him.
Good spot, because it does take effect by the end of the month.
September 7th will be the first day of
Okay.
implementation for us.
Thank you, for your help, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now the ordinances, where we don't have any.
Right.
Up next, announcements. Next commissioners meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 24th, 2021 at 10 a.m. in this room. There will be a retirement board meeting today, immediately following the commissioners meeting. By immediately following, I mean probably 15 minutes or so from now. Am I missing anything?
Just the
Prison board meeting, tomorrow as well.
the meetings that my colleagues just referenced, the retirement board and the prison board, are open to the public.
Any additional public comments at this time? Floor is yours.
Okay. A couple comments first.
Sure.
I love what you're doing with Quaker Falls out there. I'm a bike rider, and will there be a bike trail out there too? At Quaker Falls?
Believe
No, I
so.
doubt it.
Okay, but I love it.
Photography, forgive me, you've been on the Stavish Trail.
Yeah,
once,
we do
which
that.
we
Go
own.
to Louisville and have a big lunch and come back. So, but that's wonderful. Then the second one, Loretta, I wanted to say about the COVID. I have my shots, but I was at Challenges yesterday and a woman was bragging she's not getting her shots and she's there and she's not wearing a mask, and that's shows disrespect for the rest of us, you know. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Then my question is the same one. The house on 18 that we bought for the district justice, is it just sitting there and we're still paying taxes on it? Is it?
You're talking about the one in Shannon Township?
Mhm.
Yeah, right now, we're still formulating a plan as to what to do with that.
Okay, and
But
then,
there are no taxes
There are no
being paid,
taxes.
since we own it,
Right.
oh, we're not paying taxes.
we're not,
Oh,
it's county owned, it's tax exempt
Exempt.
because it's owned by the county.
I did know that. I'm sorry for
You're
that.
fine.
And then in the paper the other day, they mentioned that there was a 70% that the census did not do in Lawrence County. And I wondered where you got that figure. I happen to work for the census in an office in Cranberry, and I know we sent people out pounding on doors and sent letters and made them go back pounding on doors. And people were mad at us that we kept sending them back out and out and out. And we got phone calls from people going, why are you bothering us, you know? And so I wondered where you got that, that's why I'm here. Where you got that figure of 70% of Lawrence County was not covered.
No, they did. That maybe it was a misprint in the article, but that, at least, to the best of my recollection, at least 70% of the residents of Lawrence County did respond. Did not.
Okay.
So if it was a misprint, it was a misprint. Yeah, we'll clarify that.
No,
That was-
I probably took it wrong. I took that kind of
I couldn't
personal.
remember the exact numbers how we finished. I knew that we were at like 68%,
Mhm.
but we hadn't, the counting hadn't finished. And so I said, I know we had to get to at least 70%
Right.
that did respond.
Yeah.
So that, whether it was a misprint or not, but.
'Cause I know
or
we-
maybe, but yes.
we
yes,
in the
followed it
office-
closely
Yeah.
for the while that it was going on and happening. I know I brought it up, and I think at one point in time, we were statistically close to 70%. And everybody, and that's when there were the second letters being sent out, third letters, phone calls, the online portals were open. we
Yes.
discussed the many different ways that people could respond to
Because
it.
in the office, we got calls from people that I went to your house, Rita. I didn't, but went to your house and
Yes,
why are you bothering us? And,
right,
you know, we really tried. So
yes,
kind of wondered.
yes. I'm hoping that it's actually higher, but I didn't have an exact number when I was asked about it, but I knew that I could safely say that at least 70%
And
responded.
it's too bad that they don't realize, you know, we're not trying to get them if they're here illegal. We're trying to see, you know, where our boundaries are and things. We weren't trying to hurt anybody. We were trying to
Absolutely,
help, you know, institutions and things that needed more money.
absolutely.
So, but thank you.
I'm glad you came, no, I'm glad you came and asked the question. That way it's clarified.
Mhm.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any additional?
Yes, you know, in other parts of the state, a couple other counties have been asked to submit data and information on the vote for an audit.
Sure.
Has there been any request to the Lawrence County?
No.
Is there any intention to audit the vote here?
The vote in Lawrence County has been audited twice. It's been audited once. They do a statistical audit, and when Ed would be better prepared to explain this than I would. I don't completely understand exactly what goes into it. I can definitively say the vote in Lawrence County has been audited twice under state law, under state statute. And we did not find any irregularities.
Well, you know, other areas of the country have been audited also, but there's been recent audit that uncovered, you know, irregularities that I'm concerned about. And I, you know, as a voter and a taxpayer, I would like to recommend that they perform an audit in the county.
Well, again, I'll note that 2 have been performed.
Okay, well, another one would be not the same way, but I would like you to dig deeper in there with electronics and all that stuff. And you know, speaking of electronics, you know, I know our votes were paper, then scanned, but then after that, there was even been found irregularities where there was chips in there that added votes or subtracted votes from different candidates, the whole countrywide.
So I'm not familiar with that. I will say that, you know, again, based on our testing of the machines, we've encountered no irregularities in Lawrence County's machines. You know, we do check that stuff out.
The law permits following an election. The law permits any individual to come in and petition for a recount if they believe there is a discrepancy. And now that we have the paper ballots, that's how that could have happened. Now there's a time frame for the request for a recount. And to the best of my knowledge, following the 2020 election and even the 2021 primary, no one approached the county election office asking for any type of a recount. But that opportunity is there. I think it also needs to be noted that counties cannot and do not make their own rules as it relates to elections. There's an election code that consists of all the laws that have been passed by the legislature that tell counties what they can and cannot do as it relates to elections. That election code is the law. And our election office and the 3 of us as the Board of Elections are obligated to follow that law. We can't make up our own rules. And the reason it's done that way is so that there is consistency amongst the 67 counties, so that Lawrence County is following the same rule book that Butler County is following and that Cambria County is following, et cetera. So we don't have authority legally to go above and beyond or outside of the parameters of the election code. And I give credit to Mr. Allison, who's our election director, because he's got that election code sitting on his desk and he refers to it consistently because that's the rule book that we're obligated to follow legally. We cannot deviate from it. And Mr. Allison's off right now, but if you'd ever want to go in and talk to, there's 3 folks that work in that office, feel free to go in. They'll sit down with you and show you what rules they have to follow.
But there are counties that there were inconsistencies, at least alleged. And there, you know, there was requests for all the voting data and everything sent out. And I'm hoping that there'll be subpoenas issued, waiting for that. And so there are inconsistencies. The law is the law, but there's a lot of people who don't follow the law. And that's why That's why it's important
Well,
to me.
I can tell you definitively, and this is a testament again to our elections office, they follow the laws to a T, to the point where when anybody needs to testify before the state senate, state government committee, or the House State Government Committee, our elections director is actually the one that's called many times to provide that testimony. And that's again, a testament to him and what the state thinks of his operation. In Lawrence County, I'm only going to speak for Lawrence County because,
Right.
We were here, we observed it.
Yes.
There was a commissioner on deck, every single minute, every single second during the election, during tabulating the ballots, during the entire process. And when it comes to Lawrence County, everything was done by the book. In 2 audits, we encountered no discrepancies whatsoever. Our machines were tested. We encountered no discrepancies there whatsoever. And I have no reason right now to suspect that any election irregularities occurred either in the 2020 election or the 2021 primary election in Lawrence County.
I appreciate your confidence. I still would like to see it. I think it's going to come statewide. What I think is going to happen.
Well, if the legislature
Right.
passes
Yeah.
something, or the legislature, moves to act in any way, shape, or form, at that point, that's.
I don't have any reason to cast any aspersions on the election board, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. And
If you would like, when we conclude this meeting, if your schedule permits, I'd be happy to take you over and have you sit down with Mr. Germaini. Susan's on
She's
vacation.
on.
Susan
Yes.
Kite's off, but I'd be
Yes.
very happy to have you
Yes.
sit and talk with Mr. Germaini, who's the deputy. Be very, if you have time.
well, I am pressed today, but
Okay.
thank you
Well,
for the offer.
whenever you'd like, the offer stands.
All right, thank you.
Sir, can I have your name, please?
I'm David Foster from Little Beaver Township.
Thank you.
David G.
Thank you.
This is David M. by the way.
Gina, good to have you with us today. Thanks for coming up, Little Beaver's
Yes.
distance. Thanks for coming up from Little
Thank
Beaver.
you. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
I just wanted to compliment Mr. David Gettings on his retirement and
Yes.
all he has
Yes.
done for our community, coming over and taking over after our debacle with our last treasurer and everything. And thank Mr. Gettings publicly. He has been a wonderful source for us in Lawrence County.
He'll be missed.
Yes, he will.
If we see him, we'll pass along your compliment.
Absolutely.
He already knows. Our sons were very good friends before Albert got killed.
Thank you.
Let's see, anything any additional public comments? Any additional comments from my colleagues?
No, thank you.
Joe, Vanessa, anything from you, Joe? No. Good shape. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Do you want to give your packet to Nick, or do you want me
Listen,
to?
I believe that Nick is a mind reader and he absorbs all this information. He does some kind of shorthand over there on his notepad that he's.
You need a packet, Nick.
No, thank you.